In this lecture, we're going to look at how we can apply guards to specific routes. The first option we have for applying guards is a global guard. This may be great if you want to perform checks on every route. For our case, it's excessive. That brings us to the second option. We can add guards to specific routes. Back in the editor, we're going to remove the console statement for the to and from parameters in the global guard. We're removing them because we don't need to log the parameters anymore. The Vue Developer tools will log the information for us anyway. I prefer to use it over manually logging the parameters. We are going to leave the message in the function for example purposes. A route guard can be applied to a specific route by defining the before enter property on the record. We're going to add this property to the manage record. The value for this must be a function. We're going to use an arrow function. Just like the global guard, we're going to use the same three parameters. They're the to, from, and next parameters. Inside the function, we're going to log a message to let us know the guard is working. Afterward, we'll call the next function to let the router render the component. The main benefit of defining a guard on the record is that the guard will run when the route is visited. Let's give things a test. In the browser, load the home page in the app. If you haven't already, log in. After logging in, navigate to the Manage page. Inside the console, there are a total of 3 logs from the guard functions. The first 2 are from the global guard, one for the home page and another for the manage page. The third log is coming from the guard for the manage record. The guard will never run unless the route is visited. Let's explore the final option for defining a guard. You can define guards in components. You don't have to keep defining them in the router file. Back in the editor, open the Manage component file. The first thing we'll need to do is add the script block. Inside the script block, export an object. Add the name property to the exported object. We're going to give it the name manage. Inside the exported object, we're going to define a method called beforeRouteEnter. If this method is present in the component, the router will run it before rendering the component. Like the previous guard functions, we have access to the to, from, and next parameters. We'll accept them in the function. Inside the function, we'll log a message to let us know when the guard runs. Then we'll call the next function. Alright, let's preview this. Refresh the page in the browser. Everything still works because we're calling the next function. It's very important to call the next function so that the router will render the component. Otherwise, we'll be greeted with a blank page. Inside the console, we'll find messages from all 3 guards. One thing I want to point out is the order of the messages. If I were to refresh the page, the order is always the same. This is not a mistake. Guards run in a very specific order. Go back to the documentation page I talked about earlier. Scroll to the very bottom. We'll come across a section called the resolution flow. This part of the documentation talks about the order the guard functions will run. There's more that goes on than what we've talked about before. The router provides a variety of ways to run code during a navigation event. This order may be important to know if you have multiple guards applied to the same route. Now the question is, which guard should we use? Generally, global guards are great if you want to run some code before every request. Otherwise, I recommend using the more specific guard functions. Either one works. It's all preference. I prefer to define my guards in components. This reduces clutter in the router file. In the next lecture, we'll take the knowledge we learned to restrict access to the manage page.